Okay, now that we're back, remember I've got my name here. We did my fox with a nice little shadow on it, and we grouped it, and you can see that the group exists on our layers over here. So just to remind you about grouping, when I open up this layer here, you can go ahead and see that there are two foxes inside of that layer actually, and that the black one is behind or underneath the red one up here. And so my bird has the same thing, my car has the same thing, my space has the same thing, my D20 because I play Dungeons and Dragons is the same thing, and my robot because I teach robotics has the same thing. Everything has a shadow underneath of it, and the color is on top of the shadow. So now that we've got this happening in here, what we can start to do is arrange our paper. When we grab our item here, and as long as it's grouped, both the shadow and the color will move at the same time. If it's not grouped, you're going to have to make sure that you go back and group them. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. That's Control on the keyboard with a roll forward on the mouse wheel. And you can see here when I start to move this around, I get all these different blue lines that show up. These are going to help you organize your paper so that things line up easily. You can change the size of your image as well. And again, as long as it's grouped, the grouping will change the same size together. I'm going to make my D20 just a bit smaller. And I have these four shapes, and they all sort of have the similar sort of shape to it. They're kind of square, kind of boxy, where my car is more of a rectangle this way, that's called landscape, and then my robot is more of a rectangle this way, kind of like our sheet of paper. It's more portrait. This is called a portrait view here. So I want to organize my icons in a nice appealing way and make sure that everything is spaced out really well here. So as you can see, once I start to move these around, everything starts to line up. Currently, my fox and my space are lined up together on the left side. And now you can see that I have the same distance between my name and the fox as I do between my fox and my spaceship. I think that's a good starting spot here. I'm just going to let that live there. I like this. I want to organize my bird so that it's the same height as my fox. And I want to take my D20 and I want it to be the same spot as my spaceship. So now you can see my centers are aligned there and my right side between my bird and my D20 are the same as well. So my spaceship is lined up with my D20 and my bird and my D20 are lined up. This is creating nice evenly spaced objects here. I think my robot is going to go really well kind of in the middle here, and you can see now it's nice and separated between the fox and the space side and the bird and the D20 side. And you can see that everything is lined up centered to my page the long way. If I keep going down, keep my distance between those items separate there, you can see I'm going to hit center soon. Can be tricky, just keep at it. Right about there somewhere, centered. I kind of like that. I actually kind of want to bring it up a little bit higher and kind of make it more like that, I think. I like that there. And now because my car is longer this way, I'm going to bring it over. I want it centered underneath my robot. I actually want to make it just a bit bigger. Oh, something was selected by accident that I didn't like. So if something happens where you don't like it, you can go ahead and undo that, and it's going to take you right back to where you were. I'm going to select the car again and try to resize the car. And this time it worked. Maybe a bit bigger here. Line it up centered to my robot. I'd like to bring it down just a bit more, right about there. So you can see how easily it is to fill your space with 5 or more images. In this case, I have 6. And everything's nice and balanced now, and I like the way that everything looks. For instance, if I didn't like something, like for instance, the color of my font, I can easily change that here. I just select the font. It brings up my menu to do that, and I can go ahead and change that. I can change my outline. I can change my outline thickness. I might actually bring it down a little bit. My shadow here, maybe I want to give it a shape. Now, shapes are interesting. I can make it look like any of this stuff here. Show more shapes. I'm going to go through here. You know what? Ultimately, I don't really like any shapes. I'm not going to use a shape today. Feel free to go ahead and use a shape if you like. We are deciding not to use a shape. We'll click here and then the shapes will disappear. But there is something a bit off about this, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's the color between these two things here. I'm going to change my fill to a different color. And I seem to be more in this kind of range of colors. This seems a little dark. So I'm going to go back over here and just change my color. Oh, now that really pops really nicely. It's kind of more this kind of color. I like this. Gives it a nice light pop. Let's leave it there. I like that for right now. Don't forget, this is constantly saving for you. So on this program here, you don't have to worry about saving. But next we're going to add our background element. Now here is our background elements here. We can do various different backgrounds. Go ahead and explore all of these. Maybe you want something abstract. Maybe you want something to do with seasons or nature. Whatever you like, you can go ahead and choose. Right now you can see my computer is kind of freaking out. Don't panic, everything's okay. Let it freak out. Just go ahead and try the refresh button. Give it a second. Let it refresh. It's going to come back. It's going to get everything ready for you. It automatically saves it. It's bringing up my file right now. There's no worries here. It's automatically saved. I'm right back to where I started. I can go back to my elements, back to my backgrounds. Let's see if I can find something in here that I like. You might have to do that several times throughout your project. No worries at all. Just keep at it. I'm going to choose abstract patterns and go view. This looks a lot of fun. I like that one. I'm going to put that in my back pocket for a minute. I'm going to roll down here using my slider bar. This looks fun. I like this quite a bit, actually. What else can I like? Ooh, this one's good. I really like the way the robot pops on this one here. But my fox kind of blends in a little bit here. And my car kind of blends in a little bit here. But I really like this background, so I'm going to stick with it. So let's go to the fox. I'm going to change my fox color, fill to something different. That's not quite right. That's not quite right. Let's go to customs in here. Let's see if I can find something that's going to make my fox pop. Oh, here we go. Somewhere in this range here. I like this look here. Let's go to my fox shadow. Shadow's black. I like this. I think it's going to be good. I might want to move the shadow just a little bit. There we go. That's going to make it pop just a little bit more. So when I roll in now and zoom in, you can really get a nice clear picture of my fox just by making that shadow. I just moved it over a bit to give it a little bit more boldness. I like the way this is turning out. I like to do the same thing with my bird. So I'm going to click in my bird layer. I'm going to find my box for my shadow for my bird, and I'm just going to move it just to make it pop a little bit more. I actually want to do that with my D&D dice as well. Go into here, make my shadow just pop a little bit. Make these tiny adjustments. You can see the difference that they make when you're working with your stuff. And my car shadow, I think, is kind of going the wrong way. It's kind of going to the left when I kind of want it to go to the right. So I'm going to move it over, down a bit. Yeah, give it that forward motion kind of idea here. I like that a lot. So this is my poster. It's all done now. When you are finished, you can just raise your hand and your teacher will come over here and help you print. Remember not to print without teacher's permission. And if your teacher asks you to make, your teacher might ask you to make more than one of these posters, depending on the time left in the class here. Just keep working at it, keep playing with these things. The important concepts are the layers, how to change colors, how to group, how to manipulate font and boxes that have images inside of them to create an aesthetically appealing image that defines who you are. So sometimes we have to do things 2 or 3 times before we get that right, but that's totally fine. That's what we can do in this class here. So I hope that you're enjoying this project, and I will catch you on the next one, which will be your business logo in this same program, Adobe. Sorry, this is Adobe Express. Okay,